Patch now. vCenter under active attack.
So, David, I understand that there's been a critical hack or a bug, I guess, against a bug found in vCenter.
Yeah, that's correct, John. Yeah, so vCenter or VMware has had some recent attacks against it over the last couple months, but this was one that actually came back on May 25th. So VMware released a patch for that, and then it was due to an RCE and one of the plugins that goes into the VMware vCenter. So on Thursday and Friday of last week, there was some other security researchers from Bad Packets and a few other companies that saw a mass scanning of this vulnerability, or to see if this RC was vulnerable. So they did find a couple of IP addresses that were doing mass scanning on this particular vulnerability, or for this vulnerability. So it appeared that this was possibly, you can't always guarantee, but it came from there was a proof of concept that was or POC that was released on this, targeting the vulnerability. It had a high CVSS score, and so they even have a CV 21985 out for it. But again, after that POC came out, it seemed like the mass scanning increased on this particular vulnerability, and so that's why VMware released that patch back on May 25th, and that's why they're really hitting home the criticality or the severity of this, because of the fact that it has such a high score, and due to the nature of or simplicity of what it basically can do. So in this particular case, the cause is a lack of validation by the vSAN or the virtual SAN health center plugin, and this affects all vCenter server deployments. Even if the plugin's not being used, it's turned on by default. So that alone is kind of key why it made this a criticality, or made it so critical, and such the importance of getting this patch, due to the fact that it's turned on by default, whether you're using it or not. So anyone who has access to the vCenter server over their network can actually try to exploit this. And again, that just goes into the criticality or the nature of this attack. And the other part of this is basically it allows an unauthenticated user to execute commands with unrestricted privileges. So that alone there is big, right? So just a standard user being able to run whatever they want to from a command prompt or whatever they deem fit. And then also with all the attacks that we've heard, ransomware attacks, just loading anything they can do or what they want. This just allows for that, just due to the fact that it's so simple to per se get that unrestricted privileges, and there's no checking on that. And again, like I mentioned, the VMware did put that patch on May 25th. And at the time on Thursday or Friday of last week, they saw approximately 14 to 15,000 vulnerable servers out on the internet through Shodan. So that was kind of the question by a lot of people, is why do you have your vCenter servers exposed publicly to the internet? Maybe there's some good reason for some, and there's only 14 to 15,000, still a fairly good number across the whole worldwide perspective. But having said that, because of the fact that anyone who has network access to the vCenter server, it could happen from an internal attack as well. So that's why again, VMware is recommend that this gets patched by all. Consider it an emergency change if you can. Get that patch pushed out there to prevent further exploits and vulnerabilities of this particular RCE. They did state that if you for some reason don't have the time to patch it right away, which again, it's been out for almost a week and a half now, you can set all the plugins within the vCenter server to incompatible, which will temporarily stop the exploit, but it doesn't allow or stop further attacks that could happen outside of this. So again, there is that small workaround, but the main thing here is to run that patch as soon as possible to get these particular deployments patched and to prevent the exploit.
Is there a port or something that can be monitored for detecting attack? John, you may know this, but I think it's in the 4,000 range. I thought vCenter used, but I wasn't sure if that's something that could be monitored as well.
Yeah, well, what I saw was it wasn't that 4,000 range. Yeah, 443, 444. There was different stamp, but again, it wasn't that kind of that secure, layer. But again, from the Shodan reports that were kind of that they said those scans that they saw amongst those servers, it was around that 400 or 4,000 level range, as you mentioned, John. Yeah. So.
Yeah,
And I'm
actually,
sure,
a large majority of them, I think, actually just listen right on the regular port 443 HTTPS
yeah,
port.
Oh,
I
really?
think, but there are a lot of alternate ones. Like they have 8443, 9443.
yeah.
I think there might even be like a 4443, like you said, something like that. But I think in the Shodan report, I think the large majority were listening on just the regular port 443 TCP.
Yeah, I know a couple
I
got
was
picked.
hoping that easy look, right? Look for that port.
Yeah. Well, I know a couple got picked up just because they were using Netcat, right, and doing a 444 different things just to test that, and see. But again, yeah, it's like John mentioned that 443 range X, 4439 or 8 or whatever. So, yeah.
The other thing about this to me, when I read it, anytime I see something that's got a CVSS score of like 9.5 or higher, that's really bad. So this is 9.8. So if people haven't patched, this is pretty serious. They really need to think about it. And the other thing, you mentioned, like, why would you have VMware exposed to the internet? Believe it or not, a lot of organizations do, because there's a lot of organizations out there that might expose their VMware vCenter servers to the internet, specifically for remote workers. So instead of having VPN, sometimes they'll host, a virtual desktop that's in VMware. That's how they get in. That's how they actually bridge into the company network. So, another, accelerated risk, in my opinion, if you are set up in that kind of configuration, you really want to make sure that you're patched as soon as possible.
Yeah, for sure. And like I say, that was kind of just, some of the discussion I saw out there, people, questioning that and asking, and so there were, like you said, some definite valid arguments, but again, a lot of them were just still, couldn't believe the fact that they were out there, and it does exist, like you say. So of course, that's what, even from the Shodan showing. So.